Made man, back at it. Y'all know how I get down. We talking boxing. All right, folks. I want to sit down and I want to talk about this guy Charles Martin for a little while longer, man, because I'm starting to think that this dude is being very, very slept on, and it seems to me by the consensus of most fans that everyone is basically counting this as almost as a guaranteed victory for Anthony Joshua. Now the thing is this: the first time that I heard about Charles Martin and really heard someone talking and elaborating about Charles Martin, it was on a blood boxing video. All right. Now I'm not saying he's the first guy or not, but that's the first time that I really heard someone really elaborate on the dude. It was on Blood Boxing's video, and I made a comment to Blood Boxing and stated that, hey man, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna do a little homework on this guy. I want to get to learn this guy, given he was a newly crowned American heavyweight champion. And Blood Boxing says, cool. So I almost felt tasked with homework, you know what I mean? So I went and I did a little research on this guy, and I made up enough. I came up with enough to do my first initial video on Charles Martin, which I've already done. Now, since then, I went back and I did a little more research upon this dude, and I wanted to look a little deeper into Charles Martin because I find this upcoming fight with Anthony Joshua very, very intriguing for many, many different reasons. Given that we know the guy is newly crowned IBF World Heavyweight Champion, he doesn't have to pivot to such a dangerous fight so soon, which honestly I congratulate him on doing. I mean, I love this route that he's taking. I mean, I love it. It reminds me of an old school boxer. You know what I mean? This guy is calling out all top heavyweights. He is seemingly running from nobody. I like how he's approaching this fight. Now, the question is, does he has the skills to pay the bills? And we will get into that. Now, to the untrained eye and the untrained ear, if you take a quick look at Charles Martin, you'll say, who is this guy? Anthony Joshua can't. This guy can't last 3 rounds with Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua looks to be the more chiseled physique guy. You know what I'm saying? Anthony Joshua's won like all of his fights by knockout. Charles Martin doesn't seem nearly as fundamentally sound as Anthony Joshua, but I beg you, fight fans, to take a solid look at what we're dealing with here. Some of the things that if you do not know about Charles Martin possesses some qualities that are good and some are bad, but some are even different and awkward, which makes this guy so intriguing. He doesn't possess the best physique. He doesn't always look in tip-top condition, but the guy has power. And that's something that people got to understand. I think the boxing media honestly got it backwards. They say that Anthony Joshua has the wear-down power, and they feel Charles Martin has the one-shot instant knockout power. I think it's actually vice versa. It's very vice versa. It seems to me Charles Martin is the guy that overwhelms you with punches, and Anthony Joshua has the one punch knockout. You take the guy that these two fighters have already fought. Similarity, they both fought Zumbano Love. Now, in that particular fight, it took Anthony Joshua 2 rounds to eliminate Love, and it took Charles Martin 10 rounds. Now, the thing is because they fight different, ladies and gentlemen. Charles Martin doesn't nearly take as many chances and throws a lot of big shots as Anthony Joshua does. And it's clear. Because when he beat Love by overwhelming him with a bunch of punches. It's almost like death by 1,000 cuts. And they're not the hardest punches, but they're hard enough that if you take, 5, 6, 7 rounds of it, plus his weight of leaning on you the entire fight, it can really do something to you. And I noticed that about Charles Martin. That's the way he fights. Anthony Joshua got rid of Love in 2 rounds. One big right hand, boom, was enough to stretch the dude all, limbs out like a fucking star and shit. He stretched the dude in 2 fucking rounds because he has that kind of power. Now, I noticed with Charles Martin, he also has no fear. He fears no one, at least on the outside looking in. You know what I mean? I looked at the face-off the other day between Joshua and Martin, and Martin was like digging into the eyes of Joshua. I know a lot of times this is not an indication on how the fight's going to go, but he was digging in the eyes of Joshua, looking for any signs of fear or weakness. In Charles Martin's mind, he feels as though he's seen that. This guy is not fearing anyone, clearly showing that If he's willing to pivot from a world championship fight to take on the most dangerous heavyweight prospect today, that's up and coming, this says a lot. The guy ain't fearing nobody. And if he is successful, I'm telling you, man, the rewards that's going to open up for Charles Martin. That is a big deal. This dude ain't scared. He's calling out Klitschko. He wants Wilder, even though he's a Heyman fighter, and Wilder's a Heyman fighter. He ain't letting the politics step in. He's calling out Wilder. He wants Povetkin. He wants Fury. He wants Klitschko. He wants them all. He ain't into the, weak fight. He's looking to take the greatness route. He wants the spotlight. And this is another thing. Al Heyman signed him, ladies and gentlemen. That tells you something. Even though Al Heyman does need a bunch of tomato cans for his elite fighters, because eventually they're going to run out of fighters to fight, I get that. But in Charles Martin's case, he's a heavyweight fighter. Al Heyman doesn't have any heavyweight fighters, I don't believe. Outside of Deontay Wilder, this is the only guy that I've heard him sign, and maybe I'm wrong here. I don't know. But why did Al Heyman sign him? Is there something there, ladies and gentlemen? My UK fans, we got to think like this. Why did Al Heyman sign this kid? This guy is awkward, man. He is very, very awkward because he's big. Yes, he has a lot of defensive holes. Yes, he can easily be hit and his head movement is shit. But he's awkward given that he's a southpaw and he's looking to overwhelm you with smaller punches. And what makes him different is that he's a southpaw willing to overwhelm you with punches, but yet on the flip side, like he's not backing down, man. There's something different about this dude, Charles Martin, that people are not seeing. He's a different kind of fighter. He's not what we're looking for, the chiseled guy who's supposed to be in tip-top condition, who throws punches at fast speeds. That ain't Charles Martin, man. He's been winning, but he's been winning with this style. Yeah, there have been bag of bums. I give you that. And then, outside of Glasscoff, no one really worth mentioning. But look at how he's beating. Even the bums that he's fighting, he's beating them in a different way. He's overwhelming them. And by him doing that, he controls his stamina because the guy doesn't throw big shots throughout the fight. It's just a bunch of little shots. It leading up to maybe 1-2 big shots per round, if that. So he's never really tired. As he stated in his interviews, that he feels as though he will be getting stronger as Charles Martin will be getting weaker. And that means because he's planning on going in there fighting in this particular style. Death by 1,000 cuts, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to go in there, all these little small punches, laying his weight down on Joshua, seeing if he can take these things. And how many rounds will he last being able to do it? He got Dylan White out of there in 7, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I mean? He was clipped pretty good in the second round, but he got on his bike and he won that fight. The thing is, what I'm saying is that if we're looking, this fight is not going to be a quick knockout if Charles Martin wins. He's going to look to go the distance. He's going to look to go to the deep waters, where hopefully by that time, he would have overwhelmed Joshua with so many punches that he just can't take no more. He'll be too tired. He'll be too weak. He'll be just taking punches. He'll be throwing big shots. But if Joshua's smart, he better be very, very accurate with his shots, because if he throws too many too early, he'll wear down fast. This guy, Charles Martin, has a good chin, man. His defense is shit. He doesn't have the greatest head movement. He doesn't have the greatest defense. But one thing he does get hit a lot. Though he's never been hit possibly with no one with the power of Anthony Joshua, he still has a good chin because he eats punches. It's the truth. Charles Martin eats punches, but he has a good chin. So if he can withstand the storm from Anthony Joshua early, I'm telling you, man, and he gets Joshua in the deep waters, ladies and gentlemen, that to me is where Charles Martin will shine the best. And once again, he's calling out the best heavyweights. He's called out all the best, all the top guys. And most importantly, he really desires the spotlight, ladies and gentlemen. He said in his recent interviews, if he goes over here, he's looking at it from a point of view. If he goes over here, showing no fear, go into the backyard of Charles Martin, beat Charles Martin, he wins Charles Martin's fans. Oh my God, I'm sorry, folks. If he goes into Anthony Joshua's backyard, he wins Anthony Joshua's fans. And from what I'm hearing from the UK fans, they're not quite the top believers of Anthony Joshua. A lot of people feel as though he's incomplete also. I can't understand when people say, well, he'll ice Charles Martin, but they don't know if Anthony Joshua should step up with this big of a step so early. They thought he should have took a couple lower tier guys before he worked his way up to Martin. Is Martin good or is he isn't, ladies and gentlemen? I ain't getting it. But the fact of the matter is, man, this is the route that Charles Martin is looking to take, and this says a lot about Charles Martin. It says a hell of a lot. He wants that spotlight. He wants the fans that Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn has built. He feels as though if he can go over here to the O2 Arena in the backyard of Joshua, beat him in a world title fight, this will do wonders for Charles Martin. And I agree. Martin and David Haye after this. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. But he's clearly looking to go this route. He knows what the boxing market is. He sees that the UK fans are really buzzing in boxing right now. He knows if he can beat a UK fighter in front of the UK market, what it will do for his career. That takes a lot of fucking heart, ladies and gentlemen, because that's a tremendous, tremendous gamble right there, man. So you got to appreciate this thing with Charles Martin. You can't sleep on this guy, ladies and gentlemen. This guy is from the streets. He's been arrested a few times. He's a tough, tough kid, man. And you can't sleep on him. Though he looks awkward, though he doesn't look like he should last a few rounds with Anthony Joshua, he brings a dark horse element to this fight, ladies and gentlemen, where a lot of people don't know much about him, but his style. I've seen Lamar Peterson win in that style, overwhelming a guy with punches. This is how he beat Amir Khan. I seen fighters like Antonio Margarito, whatever. I seen him win with styles like that. Take a lot of punches, but overwhelm guys with punches. I don't know if his hands will wrap then or not. You know what I mean? But that's how he beat Cotto, if you think about it. You know, in the first fight. He walked through punches, overwhelming Cotto with death by 1,000 cuts. But I'm just saying, that's the way that Charles Martin faces. And when you got a guy fights, and when you got a guy like that, man, never count him out. Because if he can take the power of Joshua, or if he can get out the way of enough of Joshua's power shots to let him tire himself down, the fight becomes uneven because it's now going the way that that Charles Martin wants it to go. He's a pace fighter, ladies and gentlemen. He's not looking to go fast. He's not looking for a quick knockout. He's a pace fighter. That's something that Joshua needs to be very, very mindful of. He ain't going in there for the quick knockout. He's going to wear you down. He wants to tire you out. He wants to lay on you. He wants to hit you with smaller punches, accumulating, and eventually the big shot comes. That's all I'm saying. So for those who are sleeping on Charles Martin, I ask you to take a second look. And I tell you, man, because it's like I said before in my previous video, it's not like Martin's fighting a Klitschko. He's not fighting a seasoned veteran, a seasoned champion. He's fighting a fighter in which, though he is good and he's showing good talent, he has not been in the ring with the best competition. Some people feel as though this may be a little too early for Anthony Joshua, and I don't know. It's not like he's in there with that level of guy. He's in there with almost a talented guy, but just not quite complete yet. So anything can happen. So don't sleep on Charles Martin. And to the next video, Main Man, Made Man, don't forget to subscribe. Twitter, Made Man 511. Facebook, Main Man, Made Man Boxing Forum. Google Plus, Main Man, Made Man. I'm telling y'all, man, don't sleep on this dude, man. Heyman ain't signed this guy for nothing. And this guy really has hunger in his eyes. He said it himself, and he's tired of being a regular guy. He wants to be that guy. He's tired of not being able to fight on TV. He wants to be able to have all of his fights on TV. He wants the notoriety. He wants the recognition, and he feels as though going in the backyard of a local star is the way to go. If he wins this fight, ladies and gentlemen, it is fucking on. Until the next video, peace out.